Part 19. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 181. Chapter 181 Leia is so cool 3. The dean looked at Chi Lili, who was smiling sweetly in shock, a little in disbelief. Guo Zijing suddenly became nervous. Teacher Qian is the goddess of the school. Many students like her. She was reported not long after she came as a student and will be expelled from the school. Luo Shan looked at the male gangster with sympathy on her face. Faced with his accusations, she did not dare to speak out. She even moved a step to keep a distance from him. She had been beaten the hardest just now. She knew that teacher Qian how terrifying. Chi Lili smiled sweetly, approached the gangster cordially, and asked softly. "Classmate, you just accused me of beating you. Let the director see the injuries on your body. This complaint requires evidence. Show it to the teacher." Under Chi Lili's sweet smile, her eyes were filled with a hint of coldness, full of terror and murderous intent, which made the gangster tremble with fear. He saw that there were no wounds on his arms, only dust. He immediately lifted up his clothes and looked at his stomach. There were no marks at all. If not for the fact that his whole body was still aching, he began to wonder if he had been beaten just now. "Classmate, where are the scars?" I. The gangster hesitated, unable to explain why. Chi Lili looked at the school boss Luo Shan with a sweet smile. "Classmate Luo Shan, tell the dean of students whether I hit you." Luo Shan was more practical than the gangster. She shook her head and waved her hands. "Absolutely not. Teacher Qian just saw us wandering outside the school and persuaded us to go back to school." Several other gangsters also immediately stated their position. Teacher Qian gently persuaded them. They were moved by Teacher Qin's sincerity and went back to school obediently. They also actively asked the school to strictly monitor them and hoped that the school would give them a lighter punishment. Chi Lili nodded with satisfaction and looked at the dean with a sweet smile. "Director, look, other students have accused me of my innocence, and I don't know why this classmate wrongly accused me." As she spoke, Chi Lili's eyes were slightly red and she was about to cry. She was speechless and choked. I felt pity for her. The dean, who was already very fond of Qian Yuman, comforted her softly. "Teacher Qian, don't worry. I won't accuse you wrongly. Looking at how thin you are, how can you beat these students? I won't listen to his nonsense." "Thank you, Director." Chi Lili pretended to wipe away her tears. Chi Lili and the director nodded and left. Before leaving, they gave warning looks to the 5 gangsters, especially the gangster who had just complained. She was so frightened that they almost died. Guo Zijing was still in shock when he left the dean's office. He swallowed his saliva and looked at Chi Lili with admiration. "Teacher Qian, you are so awesome." Chi Lili glanced at him lightly, unmoved. "Fine. Aren't you afraid that they will sue you?" "What's there to be afraid of?" Guo Zijing always had a serious expression in school. After witnessing the alternative education of teacher Qian, he always had an expression of "I go, it's so awesome," and looked at Chi Lili with a bit of admiration. "I saw those students following you just now and I was worried that something might happen to you, but I didn't expect that they didn't help at all in the end." He also watched a play. Chi Lili smiled and said nothing. She left the school again and walked to her sister's house. She still had a lot of questions to ask her sister. Qian Yuman rested peacefully until noon after her sister took over the class. In the afternoon, she went to the hospital for a physical checkup to make sure that she was completely fine. She was a little anemic and needed to replenish her blood. "Do you think Leia is particularly handsome?" "Ha ha ha. This week's recommendation list ranks 21st, almost making it into the top 20. So in the new week, my dear concubines, please try your best to get me into the top 15, blink, blink, Innocent eyes. I also want to make sure that my update time is stable every day. I swear secretly with my fists I will update one chapter at 8 o'clock every day, morning and evening. The third update of the day will be updated at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the fourth update of the day will be one chapter at 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Why do I update chapter by chapter every time? It's because I update as I write. Hope for supervision. If I don't do it, I'll be beaten with a whip at night. You must also insist on recommending and voting for support every day. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 182. Chapter 182. Obsessed with beauty. Even though the doctor said it was normal, Qian still stayed at home and rested for the whole day. She also asked for permission to postpone her tutoring until Saturday afternoon, and spent half a day helping Tang Xingai with tutoring. Qi Lili went directly to her sister's residence after class and told her sister what happened after class. After Qian heard this, he opened his mouth wide and gave a thumbs up to his sister with both hands. Sister, you are still so domineering. Now her image in school has completely changed. She is afraid that she will become a spicy teacher, and no students will dare to make mistakes. This is called once and for all. If you don't feel well today and ask me to go in your place, you will be touched. How can your small body bear it? Something big will happen to my little nephew. Qi Lili looked at her gently. My sister still has a flat belly. I was not worried that my sister would go to class in the future, and she would not play the full set of scenes by these small mixed. She played this group of little hunter and hugged Luo Shan back to school to warn others that the thousands of teachers were not messy. Qian smiled and touched her belly, talking to her unborn baby. Baby, you see your little aunt cares about you. You must respect her well when you come out. Qi Lili lowered her head and smiled helplessly, accepting the word old man with great difficulty. By the way, sister. I met Tang Xingai at school today, and I found out that your tutoring student is my fiancé's brother. Tell me. What's the purpose? Qi Lili crossed her hands on her chest and interrogated. Qian beautiful peach blossom eyes flickered, she pointed her index fingers with both hands, and smiled guiltily. Can I not answer? Can't. Qian chuckled. It seemed that he could only tell the truth honestly. The reason why she became Tang Xingai's tutor and why she enjoyed it? After being coerced by Tang Xingai, he actually hoped to use this opportunity to secretly investigate Tang Yuge. The most important thing is that her husband is her sister's fiancé's eldest brother Tang Yuge. Of course, she still didn't dare to tell the truth about the reason why she married Tang Yuge in the first place. She knew everything else. From marrying Tang Yuge to not being able to contact him when she returned to China, then later finding out that her husband was different from the one she knew, and not understanding him well, to now using different identities to get to know him in depth. After Qi Lili heard this, she couldn't help but almost scolded Qian, but she swallowed it because of her physical condition. She said why her sister always asked her about Tang Yuge before. It turned out that he was the mysterious brother-in-law. Why is your head so long? Why are your EQ and IQ so different? You don't even know your man, so you got married. I don't know if you are brave or stupid. Qian smiled awkwardly, she couldn't tell her sister that they were not in love and getting married. Start with money, be obsessed with beauty, and be obsessed with the body. She obviously didn't fall in love with him, but she had a crazy possessiveness and strong attachment to him. Even she doesn't know the extent of her feelings for Tang Yuge now. I think you should ask your brother-in-law to your face as soon as possible why he married you under a disguise. If he lies to you and plays tricks on you, I will beat him until he can't take care of himself. As for the fiancée, she needs to be dealt with properly. She is nothing Shan too. My family background is very scary, I'm afraid it will hinder your relationship. Chi Lili analyzed that at first she thought it would be difficult for her to enter the Tang family. Unexpectedly, her elder sister married into the Tang family before her, but her elder sister faced more obstacles. At least she didn't have a fiancé in front of her. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 183. Chapter 183. Don't give up easily. Qian Yuman chuckled. I know. Ever since I got pregnant, I tend to have random thoughts. Before, I was afraid that if I asked him face to face, he would get an answer I didn't want to hear. Now she is not afraid anymore. Through this period of observation and understanding, Tang Yuj can accurately identify her as his wife countless times. If he did not have enough weight in his heart, he would not easily distinguish her from Kailai. Lei who is who. Coupled with the text message apology, observing from the pinhole camera, I can feel his deep longing. Isn't this enough to explain everything? Since she found out about the existence of her fiancé, her little temper should end. If she continues to make trouble and not reunite with him, she is afraid that her husband will be robbed. Her husband can only be hers. He is so handsome, so perfect, and so infatuated with her. She can't find him anywhere. Regarding Tang Yuj's concealment, she slowly began to understand and accept that everyone has things they don't want to say, and everyone does things for reasons unknown to others. During this period of time together, she has slowly accepted Tang Yuj's two-sided image. She is a real wife, a fiancée, and a member of the Tang dynasty family. She has never given up easily in her life. Don't agree with her status as the eldest daughter-in-law. Then the entangled Tang family admitted that if she didn't terminate the engagement with the Qi family, she would force them to terminate it. Anyway, she would not let go of her husband, Mr. Tang. After a day's rest, she found out through Tang Xingai that Tang Yuj had nothing to do today and wandered around at home. She came to Tang's house for tutoring with a smile. As soon as he entered Tang's house, he heard a powerful roar. I told you to get out, can't you hear me? She immediately recognized the roaring person as Grandma Tang. She heard the sound and walked over curiously, and saw Grandma Tang in the kitchen, holding a big spoon in her hand and getting angry at a pot of soup. The chefs and servants of the Tang family were waiting on the side of the kitchen. They all sighed helplessly because Mrs. Tang ordered them not to go in to help. Qian Yuman took a deep breath and immediately identified what Grandma Tang was doing from her sense of smell. Mrs. Tang is making yam ribs. Well, there is also a handful of wolfberry in it. It smells so fragrant it must have taken a lot of effort. Even Qian Yuman, who was holding it in her mouth, couldn't help drooling. Grandma Tang, who was getting angry, heard Qian Yuman's murmur, and suddenly walked up to Qian Yuman with a straight face, reached out and grabbed her and walked inside. Qian Yuman was puzzled, and looking at Grandma Tang's serious expression, she was even more confused. You know how to cook? Can you tell what I cook just by smelling it? Grandma Tang said seriously with a straight face. Qian Yuman nodded. I cook when I have time. Grandma Tang looked at Qian Yuman with burning eyes, and then at the pot. My eldest grandson likes to eat the yam pork ribs I made the most, but when I tasted it, I just felt that there was something wrong with the taste, but I couldn't remember. These useless chefs couldn't find the problem. What's wrong with the soup? It can go into my precious grandson's stomach if it doesn't work, I can only throw it away. Qian Yuman held back her smile, pulled the mask under her nose and smelled the pot gently. Grandma Tang, you forgot to put the sugar. Grandma Tang's eyes suddenly lit up, and her eyes changed when she looked at Qian Yuman, a little hot. I didn't expect that Teacher May's cooking skills are so good. You don't need to taste it to know that the white sugar is my exclusive secret recipe. I forgot it now that I'm old. Tianyuman smiled lightly and said nothing. Naturally, she would not tell Grandma Tang that it was Mr. Tang who told her to put the sugar. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 184. Chapter 184 Heart Palpitations Punishment 1. After adding the sugar, Grandma Tang finally smoothed her brows and nodded with satisfaction. The taste is right, this is the taste. Grandma Tang filled a small bowl for Tianyuman. This bowl is for you. Thank you, Mrs. Tang. Tianyuman thanked her repeatedly. Tianyuman didn't dare to eat in front of them. Didn't she take off the mask to tell everyone that she looked exactly like the future second young lady of the Tang family? Tianyuman was carrying a bowl and wanted to go back to Tang Xingai's study to eat, but was stopped by Grandma Tang. Teacher Mei, where are you going? Just eat here. Tianyuman shook his head. No need, I have severe pollen allergy on my face and I'm afraid of scaring you. Grandma Tang lectured with a straight face. I've never seen any big storms. I'm just a stinker. It doesn't matter if I'm ugly. What do we women do if we are too beautiful? I've always been annoyed that a few of the partners I'm looking for are too beautiful. In fact, we women only by improving yourself can your charm be eternal and retain a man forever. Having a beautiful face is only temporary. Tianyuman nodded vigorously, feeling the same. No matter how beautiful your face is, if there is no other charming feature, sooner or later your beauty will grow old and you will be unpopular with others. It's just, she doesn't dare to appear in front of the Tang family now. Tang Yu's engagement has not been terminated, and she has not been formally introduced. The appearance of a woman like Chi Lili was enough to shock them. If they knew that she was still Tang Yu's newlywed wife, it would be strange for the Tang family to be in trouble. She didn't want to appear in front of the Tang family as Tang Yu's wife now. Tianyuman insisted not to scare them and wanted to go back to the study to eat. Grandma Tang did not force her and asked her to ask for another bowl if she was not enough. Anyway, her precious grandson could not finish the big pot alone. After Tianyuman finished eating the wolfberry and yam pork ribs, she deeply admired Grandma Tang. She had to say that the heat and seasoning were perfect, and she couldn't help but admire the delicious food. Tang Xingai went to take a nap before he woke up. Qinyi Manal slipped into Tang Yu's room with great ease. Since last night, she has noticed that the pinhole camera installed in Tang Yu's room was completely dark and could not capture anything. After she sneaked in, she started looking for the pinhole camera and found that the camera was missing and she didn't know where it went. Strangeness. How could it be possible that it disappeared for no apparent reason? When Tianyuman was having a headache, a figure came out of the toilet. He looked at Tianyuman, who was looking around on tiptoes, with a playful smile on his lips. What is Teacher Mei doing in my room? Tang Yu asked with a smile. Tianyuman was stunned, turned her head stiffly, and saw Tang Yu leaning against the wall in pajamas, looking at her. You're here, Tianyuman said with a smile, but she still felt guilty. Could it be that Tang Yu had discovered the pinhole camera, and her bad taste was gone? Tang Yu approached her with graceful steps and looked at Tianyuman, who was still fully armed, with a hint of evil in his beautiful eyes. Is Teacher Mei looking for this? As he said this, the camera Tianyuman was looking for appeared in Tang Yu's hand. His eyes almost popped out of his head. Sure enough, he was found. Tang Yu approached her, and she took a step back unconsciously. I didn't expect that Teacher Mei installed this thing in my room. Does the teacher like to peek? The smile on Tang Yu's lips became deeper and deeper, and his eyes became more and more seductive. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 185. Chapter 185 Heart Palpitations Punishment 2. Qian Yuman was shaking her head violently on the surface, but she was complaining on the inside. She doesn't know if she has any voyeuristic desire for others. At least she wants to peeping on Mr. Tang right now. You, like to spy on me? Tang Yu's magnetic voice seemed to seduce her, making her feel numb all over, and her head was so light that she couldn't think. Qian Yuman wanted to nod shamelessly, but she still shook her head to prevent him from getting his way. No? Then why is there a pinhole camera in my room, and even a listening device? Tang Yuj played with the pinhole camera in his hand and looked at Qian Yuman interestingly. Qian Yuman kept retreating, and Mr. Tang in front of her kept approaching her, causing her to move to the bed step by step. You don't want to say it, right? Then I will help you express your feelings. Tang Yuj's slender index finger gently touched her heart. This small touch made Qian Yuman tremble. For a moment, her legs went weak and she fell down on the bed. Her peach blossom eyes widened slightly and she stared at Tang Yuj's handsome eyes for a moment. She accidentally fell into him like stars. Sparkling eyes. Mr. Tang seems to be more handsome today. Even in his pajamas, he is so noble, elegant, and charming. As a result, the demonic blood in Qian Yuman's heart began to boil, and she even screamed arrogantly. Tang Yuj's mouth curved just right, and he gave a simple smile that was evil, sexy, wild, and unrestrained. More sinking fishes and geese than women, shameful flowers, and a generation of wickers in the country. If this was born in ancient times, it would definitely be caught by the emperor as a male pet. If Tang Yuj knew how Qian Yuman described him in her heart at this moment, he would definitely lift up her skirt and beat her first. Tang Yuj slowly spoke on her behalf. Ever since Teacher Mei first met this young master, she has been thinking about me every night, unable to extricate herself and trapped in it. She secretly installed a camera in my room to spy on me to relieve her lovesickness. But teacher, the biggest dream in my heart is to pounce on me and ravage me. Or on the other hand, I want to eat you, occupy you, and indulge in pleasure every day, unable to control myself. As Tang Yuj spoke, he gently slid the camera across her skin, causing goosebumps to appear on her skin. As they got closer and closer, she couldn't help but lean back and fell directly on the bed behind her, while his eyes were like magnets, sucking away all her gaze. You're talking nonsense, I'm not so immoral. Qian Yuman's voice was weak. It didn't sound like sophistry, but rather like seducing people. The slightest charm was conveyed through the eyes of each other. Although she didn't want to admit it, Tang Yuj did guess a small part of it right. Although she initially installed the pinhole camera to investigate him, she later used it to watch Tang Yuj. It's just not as exaggerated as what Tang Yuj said. It's not like I think about it every day and can't help myself. I just take some time to think about it every day. Tang Yuj gently threw the camera in his hand and threw it under the bed. With one hand on the bed, his body slowly climbed above her body, trapping Qian Yuman between his arms. Tell me, how should I punish you, teacher? Tang Yuj gently lifted her hair, wrapped it around her fingertips and played with it. Punishment? Qian Yuman's eyes not only showed no fear, but even shone brightly. Are you going to pounce on her, eat her, or play with her? If it was this kind of punishment, she would be more than happy to accept it. Xiao Manman, hurry. Husband, if this punishment is more intense, more violent, don't pity me, just ravage this flower like me. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 186. Chapter 186. Don't disturb me. Yes. Punishment. The teacher has been swaying in front of me a lot recently. I have long discovered that the teacher has evil intentions towards this young master. If he is not punished properly, the teacher will think that this young master is a casual person. Tanyu's fingers pinched her hair and gently brushed her cheeks. It was tickling, and her cheeks became particularly sensitive. "How do you want to be punished?" Qianyuman asked softly. Tanyuj had a devilish smile on his lips, grabbed her hand and placed it on top of her pajamas, seducing her softly. "Teacher didn't really want to cheat last time, why not punish me this time with something else?" Tanyuj tugged at the edge. Her pupils shrank, very surprised. "This is good." Qianyuman almost screamed, but her expression was still quite calm, and she refused to welcome him. "Is this really good?" Tanyuj held her hand. "Or do you want this place?" He touched her gently with his finger. Qianyuman was seduced by the little monster Tanyuj, and she felt a strange feeling all over her body. Her body was trembling slightly, and her heart felt like thousands of ants were crawling, and the devil's blood in her heart was arrogant. "This punishment, the baby is so scared," Qianyuman burst out laughing, wrapping her hands around his neck. She liked Mr. Tang's punishment very much. The smile at the corners of Tanyuj's mouth grew stronger, and his fingers slowly moved to the bottom of the mask on her face. He did not directly remove her mask, but gently pushed the mask upwards, revealing her bright cherry mouth. No longer patient, both of them deeply longed for deeper contact. He lowered his head and covered her small mouth and began to taste it lightly, biting his red lips gently, slowly opening her teeth, and kept turning them around, making ambiguous playful sounds. The deep kiss continued, the ambiguous breath entangled each other, and they gradually fell into the confusion created by each other. Unconsciously, Tanyuj became more and more unrestrained. Qianyuman breathed ambiguously and whispered softly in his ear. "Mr. Tang, I shouldn't be too fierce now, please be gentle." Tanyuj thought she wanted to be gentle today, but he didn't know that Qianyuman really wanted him to be gentle. Pregnant women need to pay more attention. If they pay a little more attention, they can try it occasionally. "Okay, let's be gentle today." Although he didn't want to be gentle at all, he had wanted to push her down like this when they first met. Qianyuman's eyes blinked slightly, and all her small actions at the moment were always seducing him. Tanyuj kissed her red lips again excitedly. He could finally be liberated today. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. "Brother, are you in the room?" The bodies of the man and woman on the bed stiffened, especially Qianyuman, whose eyes almost popped out of his head, and she stared at the man in front of her with her little mouth pouted. She could tell who the woman speaking outside was. Tanyuj frowned in annoyance and looked at her innocently. Angry at the person outside the door who disturbed their good business, he could feel the anger of the woman below rising rapidly. "Wife, don't be angry, let's continue and ignore people outside." At this juncture, why did you come to see him? He didn't want to see anyone at all. He just wanted to be with his wife and do happy things. Shaking with anger and coldness. Recommendation vote, 5-star praise. Last week, another bad guy lowered the rating so sad. 5 stars 5 stars 5 stars. I refuse any rating other than 5 stars. Anything other than 5 stars will be relegated to the sidelines by me. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 187. Chapter 187. The meat that reached the mouth flew away. He was about to get down to business and enjoy the long-lost gentleness when another knock on the door and Chi Yuking's voice came from outside. "Get away!" Qianyuman's heart arose with unknown anger, which kept burning. She was very angry and felt aggrieved, even a little aggrieved. She had an inexplicable and complicated mood, and even she herself didn't know what was going on. How could it be like this? Tanyuj's expression looked like he was about to cry. He was like this and couldn't do anything now. Cannot be done. How could we stop here? It would be painful for him to stop now. No. Let's continue even if there are people watching, he can continue without stopping. Qian Yuman snorted coldly and pushed the man on her away with all her strength. Humph. The door is unlocked, and people can break in at any time. She didn't want to hear his explanation at all, and she was in no mood to continue. Hand out your hand to push away the person who was busy just a moment ago, sit up angrily and put on your clothes. No. Wife, wait for me for a while, I'll drive away the people outside. Tanyuj jumped up, quickly put his pants back on and walked out. Don't wait for him to take a step, reaching for him. Go away, who is your wife? Your fiancé is still outside. You are doing bad things with other women in the room, and you are not afraid of being caught and raped in bed. If you stay, I am the one who should leave. Tanyuj was dumbfounded. He stretched out his hand to pull his wife into his arms. She had already taken small steps and was within reach of her hands. Is your wife jealous? He felt happy instantly. Thinking of her sour words, he stood stupidly for 2 seconds. By the time he was about to chase him, Qian Yuman had already opened the door and strode away. Chi Yuking walked out without even looking at the door when he left. Chi Yuking was about to knock on the door for the 3rd time when the door suddenly opened. She had a bright smile on her face and wanted to say hello to Brother Yu. Suddenly, a woman wearing a mask and a t-shirt appeared. The woman's hair was a little messy, her clothes had some wrinkles, and her body was an ambiguous pink. Seeing her, Chi Yuking was dumbfounded. Isn't this woman the tutor of the 3rd brother of the Tang family? Why did you come out of Brother Yu's room? This is the 2nd time. After Qian Yuman left, Chi Yuking stepped forward immediately. Seeing Tanyuj, who was not wearing any upper clothes, he picked up the clothes on the ground and put them on elegantly. Her eyes immediately looked at the white bed. The sheets were a little too messy, as if a man and a woman had just rolled on it. Looking at Tanyuj again, he saw that his chest was rising and falling slightly, there were light scratches on his back, his lips were unusually red, and there was a faint smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. All this told her what the men and women in the room were doing before she came today. Brother Yu, how could you do such a thing at home? Chi Yuking puffed up her face in annoyance, tears quickly slipped from her eyes, and she bit her lower lip in grievance. She knew that Tanyuj was loved by people no matter where he went. The little sisters said that he had many lovers outside, but she had never seen them once. He believed that he had no other women. Unexpectedly, when she came to Tang's house with her father today, she would see a woman come out of his room. He obviously hates outsiders entering his room. Every time she goes in, he scolds her. But today he brought a woman in to do that kind of thing. If she didn't bother them, they would definitely be happy. I originally asked for leave today. See the comment area for details. However, my head felt dizzy and weak. I thought that you had only eaten half of the watermelon and didn't want to waste it, so I held half of the watermelon and ate it slowly. After taking several bites, I felt full of energy and I really wanted to write an article. Then my head hurt while I was typing. My beloved concubines all have to thank Mr. Zigwa for this. Little Jej, your majesty has watermelon to eat, Jej wants to eat meat, he knocked over your majesty's watermelon scoop with one hand. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 188. Chapter 188 Brother Yu is hers. Tanyuj put on his clothes slowly, and looked at Chi Yuking, who was crying aggrievedly, with cold eyes. He walked slowly to her, took out a handkerchief and handed it to her. Wipe your tears. Chi Yuking looked at Tanyuj happily and immediately took the handkerchief to wipe her tears. As expected, Brother Yu couldn't bear her pain. Chi Yuking was happy for just a second, but Tanyuj's next words were like sending her to hell. If your tears fall on my carpet, it will stain the carpet. And I told you not to enter my room, even if I am in the room. It seems that you have turned a deaf ear to my words. The temperature of Tanyuj's voice dropped sharply, and his face was obviously there was still a faint smile on her face, but there was a coldness in her eyes, which made her body tremble slightly and she was very scared. Chi Yuking explained anxiously. No, brother you. I just want to see you soon. I have only seen you twice since you returned to China. I used to want to find you in San Francisco, but you didn't let me go to you. I finally looked forward to your graduation. When I return home, I will be too happy to forget your instructions. Besides, I am your fiancé. Okay, don't say any more. Chi Yuking immediately shut up obediently, holding the handkerchief tightly in her hand, looking at Tang Yuj with aggrieved eyes, with big tears falling from time to time. She looked pitiful at the moment. Tang Yuj took a breath and stretched out his hand to rub her hair. Remember not to make a mistake next time, and I won't hurt you. Although he is about to break off his engagement with Chi Yuking, after all, he has watched Chi Yuking grow up, and he will not have any affection for her. She did nothing wrong in this engagement, she just became a victim of the interests of her elders. He has been very indifferent to her for so many years and deliberately alienated her, but he still can't stop her from having a deep love for him. At this moment, she doesn't know that the two of them are about to terminate their engagement, so he just wants her to be happy for a while, because what is waiting for her is very important to her. Too cruel. Chi Yuking nodded obediently and smiled brightly, with two cute pear dimples on her face. She didn't know that brother Yu, whom she kept calling, had become someone else's husband, and the engagement between the two was about to come to an end. Chi Yuking followed Tang Yuj obediently, her innocent eyes flashing through the haze, and her hand holding the handkerchief tightened. That tutor must never let her stay in the Tang family again, otherwise her brother Yu will be taken away sooner or later. Brother Yu can only be hers, and can only be her man, and no one else will have a chance to rest. Brother Yu will fall in love with her sooner or later, and he will belong to her alone sooner or later. After Qian Yuman escaped angrily, she met Tang Xingai who had just woken up. She immediately reached out and grabbed him and took him to class. With a wailing sound, Tang Xingai met the vicious teacher Qian. He became a victim gloriously, secretly in his heart. Sigh, it's obviously his younger brother, why is the situation reversed? The sunshine at the end of May was warm and moderate. In a small corner of the Tang dynasty family villa surrounded by lush leaves, on a white European-style round table, Tang Xingai was working hard with his math skills on a sad face. Qian Yuman was lying lazily on a chair, holding a small iron rod in his hand, basking in the sun and feeling drowsy in the breeze. Tang Xingai raised his eyes to look at Qian Yuman and propped up his chin. Grandma had stewed wolfberry, yam, and pork rib soup. Why not secretly bring a bowl to her while she was asleep? Tang Xingai giggled and slinked around while praising himself for his intelligence and wit. Not long after Tang Xingai left, a figure slowly walked towards Qian Yuman. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 189. Chapter 189, Evil Intentions. Qian Yuman, who was drowsy, didn't know that a figure was slowly approaching her, nor did she know that a small crisis had arisen, and she didn't even know that Tang Xingai had left. A pair of lustful eyes constantly glanced at Qian Yuman, who was lying on the chair. Although Qian Yuman had a mask covering her face at the moment and was wearing a simple t-shirt and shorts. A pair of long, slender, white legs overlapped together. In her sleep, she was not as bright and lively as when she was awake, but more peaceful and pleasant. The breeze slowly blew her hair, and the little bits of sunshine falling on her body also had a different kind of allure. A pair of chubby hands slowly approached her and slowly stretched towards her face. He had heard that this female tutor was very beautiful. Now he was extremely curious and eagerly wanted to know how beautiful she was. Just like her current appearance, she is as charming as a goblin. The drowsy Qianyuman felt that the sunlight in front of her eyes was blocked and the shadows fell. She turned her head slightly and slowly opened her eyes. Suddenly, an enlarged version of the fat face appeared in front of her. It was an old man in his 40s or 50s. His face showed an expression of eagerness to know something, and he was licking his tongue obscenely. A pair of fat hands had already been stretched out in front of her, wanting to lift the mask off her face. Qianyuman was stunned for just a second and immediately realized what had happened. The old man in front of her was cheating on her. The small stick in Qianyuman's hand immediately hit the fat old man's face, hitting him so hard that he cried out in pain. As he covered his cheek, he immediately took out his homemade anti-wolf spray and sprayed it on the face of the wretched old man. The fat old man didn't expect that he would not succeed in spying and would be attacked. He was caught off guard. He wailed in pain and took out his handkerchief to wipe his eyes in pain. Qianyuman stared at the fat old man whining in pain in shock, with a sarcastic smile on her lips. "If you want to eat my tofu, let's see if I have the ability." The stuff sprayed on his face was made exclusively by Qianyuman using a secret recipe. It contained irritating ingredients such as essential oil and mustard. A beautiful woman will always encounter some men with evil intentions. She usually carries an electric shock stick with her. This time she came to the Tang family and only carried the spray in her pants, and she just carried it casually. I didn't expect to meet a disgusting man in the Tang family. If I were outside, I would just stun him with an electric shock baton. Tang Xingai, who came over with wolfberry, yam, and pork ribs, noticed something moving from afar and ran over quickly. "Brother, what happened?" His eyes fell on the fat old man who was covering his eyes and wailing. Qianyuman raised her chin proudly. "This pervert just wanted to do something wrong with me, but I took care of him." Tang Xingai's eyes fell on the fat man. The fat old man covered his face so that he could not recognize who he was. Because the old man was cheating on his younger brother, he walked over without hesitation and poured the wolfberry, yam, and pork rib soup on him. This was fresh out of the pot, and it was piping hot. It immediately made the fat old man howl. "Who is it that burned me to death? Don't you know who I am? You did this to me." As soon as his eyes were relieved, wolfberry and yam pork ribs were poured on his head, which made him grin. Tang Xingai stood in front of Qianyuman, smiling as he watched the old fat man wailing in pain. "I'm sorry, I accidentally bumped into you just now and poured my precious medicine all over you. But I don't regret it at all. Who made you misbehave with my teacher just now? Hey. I've been sick these days and haven't asked for a recommendation vote, so you won't give it to me." They've all fallen behind. Woohoo! Almost down to 30. Recommendation vote. Recommended vote. There will be updates soon. Update 3 times ahead. Let's see how far everyone can move forward. Come on. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 190. Chapter 190 Revenge Duo 1. The fat old man wailed in pain. His handkerchief was useless after wiping his eyes just now. His whole body was hot and greasy, and his expensive suit was ruined. His eyes were still burning and hurting. For a while, he couldn't open his eyes to see who had hurt him. What happened on the garden lawn immediately attracted the attention of the villa. 2 servants immediately ran over, holding a wet towel in their hands. "Chairman Qi, what are you?" The manager of the Tang family, who ran over after the servant, was shocked when he saw Chairman Kai's embarrassed look, and immediately lowered a wet towel to wipe the grease from his body. Manager Tang turned to look at the third young master in confusion. Just as he was about to ask what happened, he was covered by Tang Xingai, who had a strange expression on his face. "Speak quietly to Butler Tang. Don't say it when we're not here, just say it when we're not here. The moment the housekeeper called out Chairman Chi, he knew he was in trouble. He poured a whole bowl of wolfberry and yam ribs on the demon. This would be a good thing if his mother knew what he had done. Not to mention whether Qian's younger brother can still tutor him, I'm afraid he will also suffer a painful punishment. Tang Xingai immediately took Qian Yuman and slipped away carefully, leaving behind a mess that gave Butler Tang a headache. Steward Tang's expression was stiff and he looked at Chairman Kai's embarrassed look with a headache, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Third young master, how could you make your guest look like this? What should I do? He could foresee Chairman Kai's censure, and the Tang family was going to make a scene. While Tang Xingai was running away, he heard loud roars coming from behind him. Who is it? Where did the person who just got me covered in soup go? Where did the woman with the mask go? Manager Tang kept bending down to apologize. Sorry, Chairman Chi, I didn't see anyone else when I came here just now, and I don't know what happened to you. Look for me, find the culprit for me. Tang Xingai's facial features wrinkled up after he managed to escape. He dragged Qian Yuman and ran away. Finally, he hid in a safe area and then asked Qian Yuman what happened. Hearing Qian Yuman describe what happened to her just now, Tang Xingai beat his chest angrily. I should have given you a hard kick just now. This devil has really refused to change his ways. He used to tease me when he saw a beautiful servant when he came to my house. Due to the relationship between the two families, he turned a blind eye. Now he even touches me. The tutor won't let you go either. If you don't wake up in time, you will definitely be eaten. Tang Xingai gritted his teeth and cursed. At the same time, he was glad that no tragedy occurred and Qian Yuman cleverly avoided it. Qian Yuman was also frightened for a while. When she opened her eyes, she saw a greasy face and almost felt sick to her stomach. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and was not taken advantage of. Tang Xingai said angrily. We can't just let it go. Qian Yuman also nodded. The old pervert is so fat and still causing trouble everywhere. He should be punished. Teacher and student looked at each other and exchanged the smiles in each other's eyes. Butler Tang is working hard to appease Chairman Chi, but the teachers and students Qian Yuman here are still plotting how to get back. Qian Yuman's smart mind immediately came up with a trick, a good plan that would hurt the enemy 1,000 times with one move and lose only 0 eggs, but would not harm himself. Moreover, this strategy is harmless. At most, it will make the other party feel cold and excited for a while. The concubines are amazing. In just 50 minutes, I was promoted from 29 to 26. Everyone, keep going. I have been having a good rest these 2 days and taking the medicine. The medicine has a drowsy function and makes me want to sleep every day. I feel much better, my dear concubines, don't worry. Updates will be resumed as soon as possible. It's gone today and will be updated at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Don't forget to support me. I will make up for you with 5 updates on weekends if I have nothing to do. End of this chapter.